is an origin reading for blue ray morphing. Okay, so as I was getting the code name, I always, before I get the code name, I surround the room and myself, and then I surround the person in protective energies for the reading. And normally it just kind of, I just see it going around the person. I just let the light do whatever it's going to do. A lot of times even the crystal that I'm using kind of directs the light, it seems like, and it'll start bumping into things and revealing blocks or whatever. And obviously the person's guides will be directing the energy also. And it's always whatever crystals I'm drawn to for the reading. So I was using my Tiger's Eye Jasper here with this big third eye on it. So anyway, with yours though, it wasn't like staying just in like a circle. It wanted to go into like all these spirals all over the place and just doing this thing. And then I see this word morphing, and then I kept getting blue, and then it came in blue ray morphing. So right away, just the color blue on its own can often signify a connection with Sirius, like Saphon of the Council for the Assistance to Earth. He's Syrian, and whenever he comes up, there's normally a blue flash. And the 7 different council members, you know, they have their own like light flashes, different colors that they'll come in with, but his is normally blue. And normally, like a lot of times actually, if I'm reading someone who has a Syrian connection, especially if it's a particularly strong Syrian connection, there'll be a lot of blue flashes from whoever the person's guides are. And so a lot of times blue, not always obviously, it can signify a chakra, you know, it can signify a lot of different things, but a lot of times it can signify that. However, the blue ray specifically, there is a connection with blue rays and Sirius. There are always is, whether it's the person's origin or just they've had lifetimes there, they have some kind of strong connection with Sirius. There's always a connection there with Sirius. And it's kind of weird that you're asking about owls and you keep seeing, you're not only seeing the color blue, but then you're also seeing owls a lot. And when I go into readings a lot with Sirius, I'll run into obviously a mermaid race. A lot of the time there'll be a race that can breathe in air and breathe in water. But then there'll be this other race that I'll end up bumping into as well that I had never heard of before, but it comes up in a lot of readings with Sirius, this other race, and they're more like a bird race. And a lot of times in the readings, they'll come in with like a bird head, but a lot of times they'll come in with a more like humanoid type of body. But when I was first about to start channeling Saphon, I was connecting. There was actually another Syrian council member that I was connecting to at first, and then they ended up introducing me to Saphon, and so that the other Syrian member didn't end up being one of the 7 like main speakers, because there's a lot of council members, but there's 7 that are speaking. So at first though, it wasn't Saphon that initially came to me as a Syrian from the council. It was for just a few days, it was this bird. He was just coming to me as a bird. It didn't look like like a humanoid body at all. And that felt more like the actual more appearance to me of this being. But sometimes, a lot of times, a guide will pick an appearance that shows their appearance, but at the same time, they're coming across still in a way where you can kind of relate to them a bit. And so it'll almost be a little bit softer, or a little bit more human, or just something a little bit more relatable. This was just full on a bird, but very big, very big. And what's interesting is I know someone who actually was bumping into some owls, but he actually ran into an owl that was like around 4 feet or so, and that person also has a connection to Sirius. And so when you're saying the owl thing and all of these things, there's such a Syrian there's such a Syrian vibe with this. So I'm guessing that that is the origin. And that's definitely the origin. So that's like a yes right away. Because that felt intuitive too. I know I'm kind of saying guessing, but I'm just saying it's not only intuitive, it's also logical, but your guides are also confirming that. So, okay, so there is a Syrian origin here, but then you also have this blue ray vibration, which is a little bit, as far as I know, more uncommon. I'll say in my readings, it's more uncommon. I don't normally read someone who has a blue ray vibration. I've even had like a couple people ask me before about blue ray, and I ask their guides, but they don't really feel that way, and they don't. Their guides don't say that, and a lot of times I'll end up getting like indigo. Well, indigo also comes in with a blue color. But it's not very common that I read someone who's actually blue ray, and you're going to have to do some research on that, because I've never really had a reason to look into it very much either, just for that reason. I've never really bumped into very many blue rays. And so, yeah, you might want to research some of that on your own. What I do know is that there is a major connection there with Sirius. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead now and see what your guides have to say, what else they have to say. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and take a second pass here. I'll show you these crystals. I have 4 here, so I think I already showed you this one, my tiger's eye jasper. So that was the one that I surrounded the room with, and myself and you initially with. This is peacock ore, and this is really good for cleansing all of the chakras, balancing all of the chakras and aligning them all, because this has pretty much every color. So it can also be helpful with a lot of different things, since it has so many different vibrations in it. But yeah, it is very good for cleansing, specifically cleansing, aligning, balancing all the different chakras. And here I have my sodalite. And this stone, it is connected to the third eye. Obviously, it's blue as well. But it's also connected to the throat, which is normally seen as a lighter blue than this. But sodalite is a throat chakra stone as well. And it has a lot to do with truth, speaking your truth, speaking with authority. And I'm getting like a healing energy as well. Healing, teaching, this type of thing that's in your vibration. I feel like this is kind of signifying that as well. There's kind of there's a softer energy with this than a lot of times the indigo vibration has. This feels a little bit feels almost a little between crystal and indigo in some ways. Okay, so I have a fourth one here as well. This is also a healing stone, actually, the green fluorite. This is very good for calming, but it's also very good for healing. So emotional healing, calming stress, things like that, but then also just healing in general. So this is another healer stone. I don't know if I've ever used sodalite as a healer stone before, but that was definitely coming in with this as well. With the tiger's eye jasper, you have a lot of grounded energies. And you also have a lot of protective energies, cleansing energies again. And also protecting the space around you. Okay, so in regards to question 2, and how can you further your awakening ascension process, part of what's coming in is just actually being aware of who you are and the vibrations that you carry. And that's part of the reason even that they're coming in with these specific things, not just coming in with the origin, and I mean, not just for the purpose, not just for the purpose of the origin, but they're wanting to denote, you know, your vibration as well, why you have that origin. And there's almost a feeling of what you're here to do with it. So there is this teacher, healer kind of vibration. There's like a little bit more of a quiet vibration with it. So not like an abrupt and kind of in your face kind of vibration. And that's something that the indigo vibration can have a little bit sometimes. Especially if it's like, especially if it's an indigo vibration that's kind of off balance a little bit, then it might have some of that in excess. But you're always going to have that with the indigo vibration. It is like a warrior vibration. So this is definitely different from indigo, but at the same time, I wouldn't classify it as crystal at the same time. But obviously, I'm not so used to picking up on this this vibration specifically. But yeah, they're wanting you to know more about yourself. It feels like how I was saying, like you should research this, you know, you should research the Blu-ray vibration and this type of thing. There's a feeling that's part of it, just understanding who you are more, yourself more. But there's also an Atlantean vibration coming in here. But at the same time, there's a feeling with it, like a past life from Atlantis, I mean, but at the same time, there's this feeling with it, um, like you only experienced like a really good and peaceful time during Atlantis. Your lifetime is very happy, and which in Atlantis most of the lifetimes are like that until you have the destruction and all this. So it literally goes from here to just crashing, and the person can end up with a lot of issues. So in this case, though, it feels like you had this Atlantean past life where you didn't experience any of that. You weren't there like during the flood, and there were different sort of collapses of Atlantis before that final flood happened, but it doesn't feel like you were there during any of those. You were there kind of in between that. So you only experience this peaceful, happier lifetime. But there is this Atlantean connection there as well. Okay, and so your guides are actually denoting a Pleiadian connection. And that this Pleiadian connection and this Atlantean connection are tied. There is a Syrian connection with Atlantis as well, though. Not only because of the water, but whenever Egypt comes up during a reading, there's always this Syrian connection with Egypt, and even sometimes with some of the deities from Egypt, there will be this Syrian connection there, this very Syrian feeling, and that's with Egypt in particular. But after the flood, there were a lot of Atlanteans that went to Egypt and helped, with building the pyramids and different things like this. Okay, and even like Thoth, this is coming in, and the emerald tablets. I don't know. It feels like there are things to like read. Actually, it feels like there are things to research and read and just see what you gather. Like as you are looking at different things can be sparked, but they're specifically saying the emerald tablets. So the emerald tablets of Thoth, you can find it online. You can probably read it free online, or you can, I'm sure, buy it really cheaply as well. We have a copy of it at the house. But yeah, they're specifically saying the emerald tablets of Thoth, and basically that's Thoth's story about his life in Atlantis, the flood, and all these different things that happened. And then I'm pretty sure he gets into afterwards when he goes to Egypt, and there's just his whole account in there. I just remembered, actually, I was feeling some kind of Egyptian connection before I started the reading, actually. Um, like as I was coming down into the room before I even started setting up the circle, I remember I was feeling this Egyptian connection. I think that might have come up when I was reading your email as well. That was a while back. Not too long ago. I think it was like a week ago. Okay, they're coming in with some kind of like brother type of energy. It feels like someone physical, It feels like someone physical that you know who like kind of relates to you. Um, and it doesn't feel like you're like totally alone or that you can't talk to anyone about these things that you are experiencing. Even if you feel that way with most others, it feels like there is at least one person that you do speak to about like spiritual things or that you can speak to about spiritual things. It feels like somebody male. It feels like somebody around your age also. And this feels like some kind of like not a Blu-ray, but it feels like some kind of like star seed person. So I don't know if this is somebody in person with you or this is someone that you chat with like over the internet or something. I'm not sure. But it feels like someone that you know. Um, and it feels like a good connection. It feels grounded. Um, just grounded, aware, and like there's a bit more open communication where this stuff is free flowing. Um, like what you know is more free flowing, like where you can talk about it. So this is a good connection. And there's this feeling of like this like a feeling of support around you. It feels like you've always been protected, you've always been guided. That's something that your guides are really stressing. Almost like you're not here by yourself, and a feeling to trust your guides and that your intuition and that you're going to walk down your path. It feels like you're really being guided. It doesn't feel like it's difficult for them to guide you either. And there's this feeling from them almost like there are a lot of people who want to like push, push, push. And they end up kind of pushing away their guides. Like they want to just get on with it. They want to have this project and accomplish that thing and this thing. And they don't really know who they are yet. They haven't exactly discovered that yet. And they're kind of discovering it as they go, but they end up doing all these things that really they didn't need to put their time and their effort into. So it feels like you're more mutable. Like in some ways, sometimes you have a little bit more of like a slower pace. Um, but they're glad about that. They're saying that it's more relaxing, it's less stressful, and it's like it's less for them to deal with almost. But they're saying that at the same time you take things seriously, but just not like overly seriously, not too seriously. And then they're kind of laughing at that because serious and serious. God, Syrian guides always do that. If the word serious comes up during a reading, they have this serious thing that they do. They always do that. Safan even does that. Safan does that too. Okay, so they're coming in with an energy like you've had a past life um, in Egypt as well. I don't feel like they're gonna really go into a lot of details with the past lives. We only have a few more minutes for the reading anyway. But there's just this feeling again, like you're being guided, and not to push, but also that they congratulate you that that's something that you really don't overly do. You don't overly push. So you kind of allow things to unfold, and it actually feels like that is in part this blue ray vibration that you have, this current. There's something very magical about this current as well, but also there's like there's like an old wise soul kind of feeling with it also. And then specifically this teacher healer kind of vibration that you carry, but that's linked to this blue ray vibration as well. Not to say that all blue rays are going to be doing that specifically. You know, there are different spiritual abilities, obviously, that a person can have, different paths that they can have, but there is a connection with this blue ray and healer, teacher. And it doesn't feel like you're supposed to be like breaking down a lot of structures, more like an indigo's energy would do, or break out in some, you know, brand new or revolutionary kind of thing exactly. It feels like you're bringing in like a wise old energy, and like you're bringing healing to the planet, you're bringing comfort. There's a feeling of animals also. Oh, they're moving into this cat thing though. They're actually saying that this doesn't have to do with the Syrian connection. They're saying that they're saying that this has to do with like a night connection, and like psychic abilities and enhancing those. And that this is a time for spiritual connections. Nighttime animals like that, they tend to be very aware psychically, intuitively. All animals are, but specifically since the night really represents that, the night represents the feminine side, and really going within and mastering those inner senses. Nighttime animals, they tend to be really intuitive, and they also tend to be symbols of that. So it's that specifically, but then also they're saying that this also has to do with a Lyran connection, but this feels much further back to me. Um, it doesn't feel as strong of a connection. Also for the reason that it just doesn't feel as recent. It kind of feels like a long time ago. But it feels like the cats are representing those two things. But the owl too, it feels like it's representing this spiritual connection, but then also this Syrian connection at the same time. So they're both representing something psychic, intuitive, and spiritual, spiritual connection. But then they're also these two animals representing two races that you have a connection with. And then blue was having to do with this, the blue ray vibration that you have, as well as this connection to Sirius. Okay, so our time is up, and that is the end of this reading. So thank you very much, Blue Ray Morphing, for allowing me to do this reading for you. And I truly hope it benefits you. Namaste.